So, a topic that I've been wanting to do for a while now, since I've switched to in person content, is talking about breathing and your jawline and all this stuff, right? I know it's a pretty tired topic with looks maxing guys, alpha male guys saying you gotta get super crisp jawline, you gotta chew on gum for 3 hours a day. I don't think that's all necessarily true, but I do think there is something to be said about tongue posture and breathing properly so that your facial structure and your breathing can be correct. And so, while I'm not a doctor and none of this is going to be medical advice, I do want to preface that I actually have a lot of experience in this subject. I've had like 8 or 9 years of dental work. I've had braces twice. I had an expander. I had this appliance called an ALF. I had physical oral therapy, so many things, right? And so I've actually learned a lot about how you correctly put your tongue on the roof of your mouth and all this stuff. And I just want to share it with you in case you've been, insecure about your jaw or, mouth breathing. So let's get into it. So the first thing is what is tongue posture and why does it matter? So basically the way that your tongue sits on the roof of your mouth or how it sits in your mouth largely determines your facial structure and your jawline, right? And so a lot of people, myself included, my entire life, I did not have my tongue engaged at all. It was just sitting on the bottom of my mouth, and actually it was a little bit worse for me because my tongue was sitting forward, so it was pressing on my teeth, through my teeth, and it's kind of formed a gap, and that was pretty bad for just the visuals of my smile and all that. And then over time, as I got that ALF appliance, I was told to put the tip of my tongue on the roof of my mouth like that, right? But the problem with doing that is that, and I'll go to the side, if you do that, you get a bulge here, right? That, right? And so that's not very sightly, but it's also just not correct, I found. And what I've learned is that the actual correct posture for your tongue is to sit the entire tongue on the roof of your mouth, not just the tip of the tongue, but the entire part. Because back here, right here on the sides of your mouth, these are called your masseter muscles. So this is the muscle that hinges your jaw. It's basically what, does a lot of the work. And when the tip of your tongue is on the roof of your mouth, these muscles are not engaged at all, really. And you can feel it when you go like that and you just put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth. You won't feel much movement at all. You might feel a little bit, but not that much. But when you swallow, this is the important part. If you swallow just like that, you will feel movement here. And this is what I'm getting at. And a lot of people have said this is nothing new. But when you swallow, basically what your tongue is doing is that it's going back and it's pushing all that water and that food, whenever you're eating, it's pushing all of it back into the back of your throat. And by doing that, these muscles, the masseter muscles, are engaged. So what this means is that if you want your tongue to be properly supporting your mouth, working your jaw muscles, you need to be in that end state of where your tongue is back there on the back top of your mouth, right? And so what I wondered for a while and what a lot of people wonder is okay, how do you do that? How do you actually get the entire tongue on the roof of your mouth? And basically it's just what I just said. You have to swallow. So if you just swallow just right now and you just try it, you will feel that the tongue at the end part gets up there, but then it comes back down because you finished the swallow. So what you just have to do is just basically hold that position when you've swallowed. So again, when you go to the side, right, and you can see I'll put the tip of my tongue on the roof of my mouth and you get that bulge. But when you swallow, this all becomes flush, right? And that's when your tongue is actually at the correct position. So I'll do it again. That's wrong. And that's right, okay? So basically, that's all it is. That's all it is. And why this matters, obviously, a lot of guys come at it from this lens of you gotta have a jawline. It's for vanity. It's for looks, right? And yeah, that's a great side effect. But it's also because nose breathing is just better for you in terms of your day-to-day tasks. There are exceptions when you're maybe working out very intensely and you need to get a lot of air in. You gotta mouth breathe. That makes sense. But you don't want to be walking around the street just like this, like a fucking ogre. I think it just goes without saying that that's unattractive, and it's also just bad for you because your mouth will get dried out if you're just breathing through your mouth all the time. Again, you're not nose breathing, so your facial structure is actually going to sag a bit, because if your tongue is on the bottom of your mouth, that means it's not engaged at all. It's not doing any work. And so over time, your mouth is just going to sag like a sack of potatoes, and no one wants that, right? So again, this is not medical advice. I want to absolutely stress that you should watch lots of videos on this topic. This has just been my experience of what's worked for me, and I also don't want to disregard the fact that genetics and facial structure and bones, that plays a massive factor. And I mean, are you going to become like Henry Cavill? Are you going to look like a model after mewing? Maybe not. But if for no other reason, do it to improve your breathing, because breathing is so important. And I was a mouth breather for a long time. And I mean, it can impact your sleep. It can impact, like I said, the way that your face even looks. And it's just like, it's a powerful thing that people are not really educated about enough. But that's basically it. I mean, it's honestly not that complicated. It's just a matter of reminding yourself, because that's something that I struggled with a lot was, how do you remember to keep your tongue up there? And honestly, dude, one of the ways that I do it is I'll just go to the gym, I'll go down the street, and eventually you're going to run into people that have really nice jawlines. And I'm like, got a mew, just visually remind myself, like, that person's got a nice jawline. I got to remember to keep my tongue up, right? And then I've found over time, as I've begun to, consistently have my tongue up there, I just feel more confident. I feel like it's not a perfect analogy, but it's kind of like when you're walking and you're just sitting up straight. You feel good. You feel like your shoulders are back, your muscles are engaged, versus just kind of like slouching all the time. And it's honestly not that different from just nose breathing versus mouth breathing. Just walking around with your jaw out like this, kind of, you just look like, I don't know, it just looks bad. And when your jaw is, nice and engaged and you're just strutting around, you feel good. And again, I mean, there's no getting around, if you're overweight, your jaw is going to be hard to see. I don't want this to become like a magic pill that you think it's just going to like solve all your problems. But it's baby steps like this that I think really start to, improve your looks, but also the way that you feel internally. You feel more confident. You feel more upright. But that's about it. It's really not that complicated. It's just a matter of reminding yourself and keeping at it. Because again, it's going to take a long time before you start to see visual results. And it's not like working out where maybe 2 months in, you start to see your biceps get a little bigger. It takes months, if not years, to see your jaw change. But just keep at it. And again, please do your own research. I don't want you to take one video at face value. There are a lot of different perspectives to consider on this. But yeah, I'll catch you later.